This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Well, many of us gravitate toward therapy to help move our lives forward, maybe figure some things out, why we do what we do or why we don't do what we should be doing. And there are many different types of therapy. One of them is drama therapy. We're going to look at that today. What's actually going on? What's the core processes when somebody is going through drama therapy? It's easy to think that, oh, you're just acting out certain things, but it's a lot more than that. And she is a registered drama therapist and actually teaches people how to do this as well. She is Sally Bailey, joining us once again on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. I love to talk about this, so I'm always happy to talk with you.
You've opened my eyes up to a lot of this, and before we even got together, I knew that call it art therapy or arts therapy was a thing and therapeutic, but not, as I learned from you, it's not exactly what you think when it comes to drama therapy. You have big productions. You also have individual groups, could be individuals, I would assume, as well, to help express themselves and what's going on here. So what is actually going on when somebody is getting drama therapy?
The very first, biggest, most important thing is that you enter what is called dramatic reality. And everybody has entered dramatic reality when they were a child. It's that moment when you are in a space, but you're also in your imagination in the space. And it could turn the space that you're in into a safari in Africa, or a castle in France, or the bottom of the ocean, and you're exploring the bottom of the ocean in your backyard. And you aren't psychotic. You know you really are not at the bottom of the ocean, but you believe as if you were at the bottom of the ocean. And you see things, but you aren't hallucinating. You hear things, but you aren't hallucinating. You are using this amazing power that we all have within us to create a space in which you can figure things out outside of real life, outside of what we call ordinary reality. So, and this happens even when you play a game, like if you're playing Monopoly or you're playing baseball, you're in this imaginary world that is called dramatic reality, that has certain rules, certain things that everyone who is in that reality agrees to. But if your mother says, time for dinner, you hear her and you leave dramatic reality, go back into ordinary reality and go home.
I never looked at it that way. So if somebody is, let's say, playing baseball, recreation, professional, whatever, are they in a different reality, even though they're in the game? Can they be out of a game? They're in the game.
The game is the dramatic reality for them. It's different from being in real life because they're focused on the game and on their role in the game.
So when it's drama therapy and somebody goes into another realm, bottom of the ocean, on a cloud, wherever it is, how does the therapy work? And is it that when they're in a different reality, some realizations, some epiphanies happen to come out? Is it easier in a different reality?
It is, because what happens to you does not have real consequences. Unless, of course, you climb up on top of a dresser and throw yourself down head first on the floor, then you're going to hurt yourself. But in terms of what a therapist using dramatic reality would do, would keep everybody safe, would have people have, these are the rules now that we're in this space. You can breathe even though you're underwater, and you don't need a breathing apparatus. So let's go talk to this turtle who's under the sea. And somebody becomes the turtle, and we believe they're the turtle, and the turtle believes the turtle can talk to you. And maybe we're there to ask the wise turtle how to solve this problem. Or maybe we're there to find out from the turtle, what's it like being a turtle? What's your favorite thing about being a turtle? Or in the case of sociodrama, where you're trying to find out more things about a situation, maybe you're pretending that you were in a school, a middle school, and suddenly the news comes that aliens have landed. How are you going to meet with and understand these aliens? And so you have people who are playing the aliens, and you have people who are the people in the school, and you act out what's going to happen. You don't really think that those people are aliens. You know that they're people in the group, and they don't think they're aliens. They know who they are, but everybody at the age of, I would say 2.5, learns how to do dramatic play. And even if we stop doing dramatic play when we're 4 or 5 and we go to school, because that's kid stuff, you never lose that ability. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. And so you can bring that ability that your amazing mind has back to use for service to figure things out.
Sally, is it impactful or helpful when somebody, let's say, acts out in a different realm, go above the ocean, easy one to visualize, that it's easier to work through their challenges because they're in a different spot? For example, let's say somebody hurt them, somebody they're close to, maybe they had a breakup or whatever it might be. But now it's easier to deal with it at the bottom of the ocean because it's different. So that person might not be there, or you wouldn't have the same communication and deal with the same challenges because you really can't talk underwater. Whatever. I'm going very hypothetical here. But does that make it easier because you're out of your everyday life, so to speak?
Yes, and you can even use that dramatic reality to help you work through a problem. Say you have had a breakup or some kind of trauma, and you're at the bottom and you feel like you can't get away from it. You feel very heavy. A lot of times you feel like you're moving in slow motion with some problems. Go to the bottom of the ocean where you do move slowly, where the water does slow you down. If you've ever tried to walk in a pool, you can't walk as fast when you've got water all around your body. And so then you're metaphorically in a space that is like you're feeling real space. And you can say, well, what can you do underwater here? What's this like? Describe this. And maybe people can describe it better through the metaphor. And then maybe you can visit the turtle or the seahorse or whatever, and they can give you some tips on how to be able to move better underwater. They might teach you how to swim. And when you swim, you're not going in slow motion. You can go very fast. And so then you would go back to ordinary reality and you would talk about what happened. What happened when you were at the bottom of the ocean? What did you learn? And people, in talking about it, will suddenly have insights. Sometimes it's almost like the metaphorical light bulb that comes on over somebody's head. Oh, I can change the way I do things. And then it will feel different. Whereas if you had talked about that and said, you have to change the way you're doing things, the person doesn't get it because of several other things that is involved in drama therapy that all kind of come together in dramatic reality. And one of those things is dramatic projection. You can create a metaphor before you go into dramatic reality, or create one while you're in dramatic reality, of that feeling of not being able to get away from the problem is like the feeling of being underwater. Well, that's a dramatic projection. It's not the same as Freud's projection, where you put something from yourself onto somebody else. It's taking an idea in your head, a metaphor, and bringing it out into the real world and playing with it.
It almost sounds like getting into another world through drama therapy. If you do the same thing all the time, you're going to see the same thing all the time. Now you're seeing it from a different lens, a different perspective, underwater, in the sky, whatever. Sally, have you always had this imagination, even as a kid?
I did. And I was very unhappy to have to give it up as I grew up. And I would still play in dramatic reality even when I was in elementary school and middle school. And I just didn't want to grow up. And I promised Peter Pan that I would never grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kept that promise. And one of the ways to keep that promise is to become a drama therapist.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that seems like that was your purpose. You were gifted with those skills of imagination back then. Wow. It's often been said that always stay curious, even as an adult. What are we as kids? We're just curious, but we lose that curiosity. Even the drama side of things, the way you look at things, it's from a curious angle, right?
It's from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things that drama therapy can do, is it can let you really view something from a totally different perspective, either because you're playing a different role than you normally play, or you're in a land where the things that normally happen can't happen, but something new can happen.
Yep.
And that lets you ask the question, what if? Which is Stanislavski's magic if. What if?
Well, I'm thinking too that by going into a different world, if you will, through drama therapy, there is no judgment, there is no guilt, and even if questioned, hey, that's the way it is underwater, or that's the way it would happen, I think, underwater. Who's to say? Right? You're out of your normal element.
Right. You're not going to go in and go, now listen, there's only X% of oxygen. And even if you have gills, you're not, it doesn't matter because it's an imaginary world. Now, the other thing that is in all of drama therapy is playing. And that seems obvious, but it's play. And it turns into fun and enjoyment. Because even a very serious subject can be played with. And then you can stop playing and then you can try something else with it in a playful way.
Again, I'm getting this. There's no judgment and no guilt in doing that because I'm just playing. But
Yeah.
along the way, you're having realizations, epiphanies, healing, all of that. How about some of the other core processes involved in drama therapy? What can you share?
My very favorite one is concrete embodiment. And that's because you get to be physically yourself, become either yourself in a different situation or somebody else in a different situation. And because it's yourself, you get to feel the feelings that that character would feel and think the thoughts that that character would feel. And it might be an intensification of how you feel, or if it's a different person, it might be a totally new perspective. And that's where your different perspective comes from, is your concrete embodiment. It's not imagining it, it's physicalizing in a role play that person that you're acting out. And there's a lot of people who are not as good at abstract thought. They're better if they do it. They're doers.
Your cat is behind you. You said it was
Yes.
going to happen. It's so cute.
He likes to do drama therapy. He's the drama therapy cat. When people come over, he always goes to meet them at the door and sits with them and talks to them and sniffs them. And
For a whole other podcast, animals are so plugged into us, and we don't realize it. We don't know that they're, how many people say, yeah, my cat knows what I'm thinking. Yeah, they do. They really do. They're picking up on your energy. They can read you. They can figure it all out. Um, I'm seeing drama therapy in a whole different light here. How do we release the chains that bind us in terms of being creative? Now you have somebody, they're going to try drama therapy. They have certain things they need to work through. They're really not, maybe they're a little self-conscious. They want to do it right, or whatever it might be. How do you have those breakthroughs so that they just do their thing and just enjoy it and release and play and be curious?
well, there are several things. The first thing is that you always do some kind of a warm up to get imagination going and to get embodiment going at the very beginning of a session. And that could be a drama game, it could be some physical thing to get you back into your body. And then the person who's leading the group, the drama therapist, has to invite everyone in and believe themselves. If I didn't believe in drama therapy, if I didn't believe in dramatic reality, nobody could go there. But I believe in it. I really believe in it. And I want to go to dramatic reality. So people will come with me. And even if I'm not going into the scene, I'm assisting in the scene. Often I'm in the space just as a coach. And I can, like, if somebody gets stuck, I can go over and I can whisper in their ear, why don't you try this? And they will. But they know, even though I'm whispering in their ear, and that's kind of reality, ordinary reality, it's for the dramatic reality to unfold more. And so they kind of stay in character, and I whisper, why don't you try skipping over to him, or whatever it is that I'm going to suggest. And all of that happens. And then when you leave and go back to ordinary reality, you get to talk about what happened and think back about what you felt, what you thought, what you said. Could I do this differently? Should we replay it and see if something different happens? Or what did you get out of it? And that is very, very useful. That's kind of, there's never a, you did that wrong when you come out and talk about it. Or I've had a couple of people at one time or another say, I didn't feel anything. I felt like I was just walking through it. And usually that means that they didn't do a lot of dramatic play as children, or they weren't allowed to play with other kids. And so it takes practicing it and doing it in very small ways until you can easily make that transition into dramatic reality. And it happens pretty quickly for almost everyone, unless you don't want to go there. And if you don't want to go there, there's no way to get somebody into dramatic reality. They'll just sit there and say, this is silly.
Right.
This is stupid.
Yep.
And then the rest of us go into dramatic reality and we have a lot of fun, and they go, I'd like to try that. I'd like to do that. Can I be in the next one?
Does it always have to be in an element outside of your own? Like, let's say you're dealing with a work situation, right? Taking place at work. Let's say you work in a factory. Would you do drama therapy based on the factory? Or is it always better to get out of that situation, go to the bottom of the ocean, go in the woods, or whatever it might be?
That is a great question. I think it depends on the person and the situation that they're dealing with. Sometimes rehearsing for life in the space, doing things that you would need to practice to give you the verbal skills to be able to, like, get a raise or to confront somebody who's being condescending to you or whatever the problem is. You can do it in that space. That's the perfect place, because when you do it in real life in the future, it'll feel safe. It'll feel common. It'll feel, I've done it before. Even though maybe you haven't done it before, you've done it before in dramatic reality. And so
Well,
now you can do it.
yes, that's where just what you're about to say. Now you're doing it again. Now you can see how it can be done differently, potentially for a different outcome. Or maybe there is a coworker that you have challenges with. Now you act it out. Let's say you play the coworker, and now you have a different frame of reference on how to deal with it when it presents in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So then that makes people much more, it's not an unknown.
Right.
They have gone through the situation maybe a couple of times, and it doesn't matter what the other person gives back to them. They know that they will not be destroyed. They know that they can keep talking their way through the situation.
Have you found when working with somebody new that you'll give them a suggestion? I'll go back to the bottom of the ocean, just an easy one. Hey, why don't you try that? What you're working on there, what your goal is, the situation you're in. Why don't we try that as if it were at the bottom of the ocean? Have you found that when you start making those little suggestions, it almost opens the creative floodgates of somebody where they've been thrown the baton of creativity, where now they realize, oh, I see it. I can do it like this under the ocean. Let me try it, up in a plane now. Let's try something different. Do you find that once it's almost like priming the engine?
Yes, exactly. And that can work so well because if you say you're under the ocean and you're moving in slow motion, suddenly you're being mindful about what's happening, or up in the air, anywhere else that's different. Suddenly you're observing yourself while you're doing it, and you're feeling what's different. And maybe you've made it more difficult for yourself, or maybe you've made it easier for yourself. But when you come back out to ordinary reality, you can work that through by talking about it. And different people at the bottom of the sea may have had different experiences. And so the flow back and forth between the people in the group, even new ideas will come out. And people will get really excited that I never thought about that. Wow.
How often do you have it where somebody just can't do it? They just can't open up, express themselves, be creative. Is it rare? Does it ever happen?
I think if people are around it long enough, it does happen. If they want to. I mean, anytime you don't want to do something, it's not going to happen for you.
100%.
But I had a performing company a number of years ago, and I had one guy who just didn't get the imaginary stuff at all, and he just wouldn't get up, and he wouldn't get up. Then one day we were doing, we had somebody in the group who always loved being a fireman, and he would go visit firehouses, and he loved and we said, okay, let's pretend that the puppet stage is on fire, and we're in the puppet stage, and some people have to be firemen and they have to get us out. And so I was being burned up in the fire and fell out and rolled on the ground, and this person got up and was very concerned because suddenly he had believed in what was happening. And he really thought maybe I was on fire. And then that was a breakthrough moment. After that, he wanted to participate because he saw us all having so much fun being burned up. If we were really being burned up, we would not be having fun being dramatic. We would have been in pain.
Well, you don't know until you know. So seeing other people do this, it's like, oh, wow, that's how that goes. Oh, all right, I can do this. And to your point, Sally, this is about healing. And there's many different modalities. Hypnotherapy, one of them. I'm a big fan. It's worked for me along with other things. Haven't tried drama therapy. It's on the radar. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I can give you some good names of people in New York.
And I suggested to somebody I'm very close to, hypnotherapy, recommended the hypnotist, et cetera, et cetera. They did 3 sessions. They said it didn't work. This doesn't work. I know their personality. I know why it didn't work. They weren't open to it. You have to be masked down. You have to trust the practitioner. You have to go through the steps to do the work. I know without a shadow of a doubt, they weren't ready. That's just not them. And that I think it's the same thing for anything. It's not going to work unless you believe it's going to, and you really are open to making it work. How do we find you, Sally? What's the best way for somebody to connect with you?
My website is www.dramatherapycentral.com, and I have a place where you can email me through that. And I'm always happy to talk about drama therapy or answer questions about it. Yeah.
Thank you for today, and thank you for spreading the awareness about something wonderful and potentially fun to help us heal and move through life. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.